My dear students, good morning everybody. I am Ujjwal Kumar Haldar, lecturer in English, Govt.suhrawardisollege College, Pirojpur. Today, I am going to take a class for the students of English Honours first year, and already I have written something on the board, and this is my second class on the famous short story The Garden Party by Catherine Mansfield. My dear learners, you know that in my previous class I discussed on Catherine Mansfield and the definition of short story, the main characteristics of a short story, and the main characters. In my class, I gave you an outline of the whole story. Today, I like to carry on my discussion on some specific points, and that will be helpful for you to understand the story. The main things will be focused today. And for the proper understanding of the story, we discuss something, and I am going to discuss those very important things from the angle of the text. Please try to follow me. You know that Catherine Mansfield is famous for her short stories. Actually, she is a short story writer, and her famous short story, The Garden Party, is an interesting one. Actually, we must know something that is very important: the class distinction and maturity, psychological maturity of a young girl, particularly Laura Sheridan's, the central character or the protagonist of the story. Today, I like to carry on my discussion. On the setting of the short story. How was the setting of The Garden Party? The story, The Garden Party, was or is. Actually, you know that The Garden Party is regarded or considered as Catherine Mansfield's finest piece of short story. The plot of the story is built on the occasion of a garden party. Actually, everything of the story, every incidents of the story revolves around the garden party. And garden party, in my previous class, I discussed, or I made it clear to you that garden party is nothing but a picnic party. In another sense, or in another words, we can term it as a picnic party. Why is a garden party is arranged, or picnic party is arranged? For the amusement, for mental recreation, to enjoy a very good time, to have a very good time. Usually, a garden party or a picnic party is arranged. Here, from the story, we will find that Sheridan's family, the family is a very aristocratic family, which arranges all the family members of the Sheridan family arranged a garden party, and every incident of the story revolves around the garden party. The story opens in a fine morning. The Sheridan family is taking preparation for a gorgeous garden party. That is a fine description of weather of the day. For arranging a party, you know that the weather must be fine. Without fine weather, or in case of rough weather, a nice party is not possible to arrange. So, the members of the Sheridan's family are going to enjoy a picnic party or garden party in a day when the weather of the day was very fine. That means the weather of the day was favorable to them, favorable for arranging a picnic party or garden party. The members of the Sheridan's family are going to have this party in their garden, and you know that for arranging a picnic party or a garden party, a spot must be selected, and the Sheridan's family selected the spot, their own garden, where they agreed to arrange a garden party. The garden has been mowing the grass in the lawns and sweeping them. Hundreds of roses have bloomed in a single night. Actually, the surroundings of the environment of the garden was very attractive, because you know flower is a symbol of beauty and purity. So, where they are going to arrange a party, they are going to arrange the party in the midst of roses in their garden. And for arranging the party, the Sheridan's family took help from the working class people, and for this reason 4 workmen or laborers came to help them, and the work of the workmen was supervised by Laura, the central character or the protagonist of the story. The preparation for the garden party is to be supervised, and this duty is assigned or given to Laura Sheridan, a teenage girl by her mother. The house is decorated beautifully. Laura gives some direction to the workman, and there is a discussion among them regarding the place for setting up the marquee, and there is a fine caracas tree with nice yellow flowers. The tent is set up against the caracas tree for the party. Actually, the workmen came to help the Sheridan's family members for arranging the party, and all the activities of the workmen were supervised by Laura Sheridan, the central character or the protagonist of the story, and these activities was very interesting to Laura Sheridan because she always loved to supervise the activities of other people, and when she was assigned by her mother to supervise the activities of the shadow of the workman, it was very interesting to her, it was interesting to her, and that's why she agreed to supervise the activities of the workmen. And in the course of the supervision, we can find that there was a discussion, there was a conversation among the workmen and Laura Shader, the central character of the story, and they selected a place where the Mercury or the large tent will be set up. And the most important things that has been given focused or that should be highlighted in the story is the class distinction or the attitude of the Sheridan's family to the poor. We know that Sheridan's family is an aristocratic family. They belong to upper class society, and what type of mentality or attitude they bear for the poor people we will find in the story. And this is the main thing that has been given focused or emphasized by the authoress in her famous short story, The Garden Party. The Garden Party. Actually, The Garden Party, a wonderful short story by Catherine Mansfield, deals with mainly two themes. Already I have mentioned it. Now I am going to mention it again for your understanding. And what are those two important things? The development of a young girl's mind into maturity, and the distinction between the rich and the poor. These two things are very important that have been focused in the story. What are those things? The class distinction between the rich and the poor, and another thing is the development of a young girl into maturity, psychological development. What type of development? Psychological development. Okay, let us now discuss those things, those two important things from the angle of the story. The society depicted in the story is a society of class struggle or class distinction. There are two types of society. Some people or the upper class society and the lower class society. The Sheridan's family members belong to upper class society, whereas the poor Carter, who died by an accident, belonged to poor or working class society who live in the slum. In this society, that means in the upper class society, there is always looked down upon the poor and the downtrodden. Actually, in then society, the people of the lower class society or poor people are not considered as human beings. They were given no importance. They could not enjoy any privilege of modern society, and that was very pathetic. This story poignantly reveals Catherine Mansfield's class consciousness. Actually, from the story you come to know that, or we can clearly understand that Catherine Mansfield is very successful in the delineation of or in the depiction of class distinction that was prevailing then society. In the story, a poor neighbor of Sheridan family dies by an accident, and Laura, a young girl of that aristocratic family, that means Sheridan's family, engaged in the preparation for a gorgeous garden party, wishes to stop it to show sympathy to the poor, bereaved family. But she is strongly opposed. She is strongly opposed by her mother and her elder sister Josh. Her mother, Mrs. Sheridan, thinks that her daughter Laura is a foolish girl. She believes that it is very degrading to the self-image of Laura herself and the rest of her family. When Laura was also having a good time while she was taking preparation for the garden party, for a gorgeous garden party. But suddenly, when she was informed by her mother that a neighbor, Carter, died by an accident, she becomes upset. Laura becomes upset, and she thinks that it is very useless or meaningless to enjoy a gorgeous garden party in the midst of a death of a neighbor. How is it possible? Someone has departed from the earth, and it is human, it is very natural to show sympathy to the poor man family, to the dead man family. But the Sheridan's family members ignore it. Actually, they never show any sympathy towards the poor class people, towards the working class people. Actually, they never consider the working people as their neighbor. So, how is it possible for them to show sympathy? But it is Laura Sheridan who thinks oppositely from the all other family members of Sheridan family. She believes, that means it was the belief of Laura's mother that to show sympathy towards the poor is nothing but a self-degradation to Laura herself and to the rest of her family members. And showing kindness to someone of lower class is strictly forbidden, especially to stop a party in the midway to visit a widow. Actually, showing kindness to someone of a lower class is strictly forbidden. They cannot show, they cannot display any sympathy towards the poor or working class people. And Josh, her elder sister says to her, "Don't be so extravagant." Laura is mentally hurt to see her sister's narrow mind in her attitude to the poor. When Laura earnestly pleases to her family members, particularly to her mother and her elder sister Josh, then Josh advises Laura not to be so extravagant, because the people of the rich society or upper class society never show any sympathy towards the poor. As Laura is a member of upper class society, so how is it possible for her to show sympathy towards the poor? Actually, here Laura Sheridan is completely different from all other family members. Here, this type of attitude of Laura Sheridan's actually shows her human quality. As a human being, every man or woman should have humanistic quality, but all other members except Laura Sheridan's do not possess such quality, and this is very pathetic. This is the reality that was prevailing in then society, and still it prevails everywhere. And our authoress or short story writer Catherine Mansfield wants to focus it before the readers, and I think she is very successful in dealing with such mentality of the Sheridan's family that symbolizes the family of the upper class society. Here the mentality of Mrs. Sheridan's and Joe Sheridan's actually symbolize the mentality of the upper class society that was prevailing in then society. And if we try to look at our present society, then we will find such type of man who also possess such kind of mentality. But it is Laura Sheridan who wants to make a radical change. She wants to come out from such type of mentality, but she is strongly opposed by her family members, and for this reason she feels upset. She feels that she is mentally bleeding within herself. Now we will find that to her mother, that means to Laura's mother, is totally annoying that Laura even wants to stop the party paying too much importance to a poor man's death. Actually, Laura gives more emphasis to stop the party. On the other hand, or on the contrary, or whereas all other family members want to continue the party, and her indifference to the brave family, and Joe's comment, her elder sister Joe makes a comment on the dead man as a drunken workman, so clearly how the rich look down upon the poor. They never accept the poor man as the neighbor. Now we will try to discuss Laura's inner conflict from the angle of the story. And this inner conflict of Laura Sheridan is very important. And here we will find that how Laura Sheridan, the central character of the story, turns from her teenage into a matured person. Here we will find her psychological maturity. In the course of the preparation of the party, Laura suddenly comes to know about the death of a poor man, and his name was Carter. He was a driver, and she feels dejected and proposes to stop the party. Her innocent mind realizes that it would be unwise, unethical to continue the party when there is a death in the neighborhood. And this type of feelings of Laura Sheridan is natural. When a man dies, we must show sympathy, and Laura Sheridan is not exceptional from this mentality. She wants to show sympathy, but she is strongly opposed by her family members, and for this reason she is tormented within herself. When she is opposed, she expected that all her family members would support her, and they will also show sympathy towards the poor people, but they did not do so. Rather, they ridiculed or rebuked Laura Sheridan when she wanted to show sympathy towards the poor Carter. So I like to stop here, and in my next class I want to carry on my discussion again on these topics. Please stay home, stay safe. Thank you all. Adab sir. Sir, ask you, কেমন আছেন স্যার?